Hiya, kiddos. Glad to see you again. It's Grandpa Ken. We're going to read a fun story today. One of my favorites in the whole world is I love cats. I just love cats. I've had cats for so many years and just love them. So we're going to read A Curious Little Kitten. You know, kittens are pretty curious. Once upon a time, there was a curious little kitten. She lived in a nice sunny yard behind the nice cozy house. The little kitten's yard was surrounded by fences. There was a high wooden fence on one side and a low wooden fence on the other side, and in the back was a red brick wall. See, isn't that a nice backyard? Huh? Yeah, she had a big one, didn't she? She could play. At first, the curious little kitten was only curious about the things that were inside her yard. She was curious about the flowers and the birds and the garden house. She was curious about the clothesline and the wheelbarrow and the rose bushes. Sometimes it was fun being so curious. Sometimes it was very uncomfortable. When she was exploring, and then look at, she got caught up in the roses. Bet you that hurt. Ow! Roses have big thorns and they hurt when you get stuck by them. By and by, the little kitten became curious about things that were outside her yard. She began to wonder what was on the other side of those three fences. One day, she peeked through a hole in the high wooden fence. She could see another yard, just like hers. But in that yard, there was a small house. Uh-oh. We know what kind of small house that is, don't we? Yeah. Bet you some of you have one out in your backyard. The curious little kitten just had to find out what was inside that small house. In no time at all, she wiggled through the hole, scurried across the grass, and went right up to the doorway. She looked in the house. Something brown and furry was sleeping inside. What could it be? The curious little kitten kept closer and closer. What was it, everybody? It was a dog house, and there's a dog in it. Woof, 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 woof. The brown furry thing woke up. Oh, was it a big, was it loud? It was so big, the little kitten could not get out of the yard fast enough. So she ran back to her own yard and hid behind the wheelbarrow. She was very frightened and very certain she would never, never be curious again. But the very next day, the little kitten found a hole in the low wooden fence. She looked through it. She could see another yard just like hers. But in that yard, there was a small round pond. The curious little kitten just had to find out what was in that pond and what for. Well, see, when you're curious and you go check things out, you got to be careful. And you never, never go near or around water without your grown-up. In no time at all, the little kitten wiggled through the hole, scampered across the grass, and went right up to the edge of the pond. That's dangerous. She peered in, and something bright orange and wiggly was down there under the water. What could it be? Curious little kitten leaned over farther, 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 until closer fell in. Splash! She tumbled in. Oh, and it was cold, and oh, it was wet. She could not get out of the pond fast enough. She could not get out of that yard fast enough. See her in the pond? She's all wet. Cats don't like to get wet too often, except tigers. They like it. The little kitten went back to her own yard and found a sunny, dry place to rest. Here, in her own yard, was where she would stay. Here it was safe, Being curious could only get a kitten into trouble. She would never, never be curious again. I don't know, Guy. What do you think, kiddos? But the very next day, when she was looking for something to do, the little kitten hopped up on the top of the old red brick wall. She only wanted to have a peek, and there was still another yard, just like hers. What was in that yard? She had to find out. In no time at all, the curious little kitten hopped off the wall and landed right in front of another little kitten. Oh, she was surprised. Oh, she was happy. The curious little kitten could not make friends with the new little kitten fast enough. Sometimes being curious is all right. Sometimes being curious helped the little kitten find a nice new friend. And maybe sometimes you being curious and meeting other people, other kiddos, you can tell them about Grandpa Ken, and you can tell them about not going near water without grown-ups and making friends by smiling and being a fun person. Because that's what we try to do here at Grandpa Ken Storytime, and that is just have fun. You guys be real good today. Listen to your grown-ups. You have a great day.